I know you, I can feel you with the green of soul. It's more than empty dreams and promises. It's not infecting me no more. And all I say to you is getting on. You won't be feeling me no more. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so slow. When all those dreams are all our memories, there's not being alone at one. And thoughts of you just bring me down inside. I sing it with the green of souls. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so slow. What? Get your hands up! It's more than empty dreams and promises.
All right, back one more time. Welcome to the listening room, y'all. Here we go. Let's get it in. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification. Like the video for the content. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. And my buddy Ari as well, obviously. So, today, originally from Long Beach and Lakewood, my guest graduated from Long Beach Poly High onto UCLA with a degree in biochemistry and is now the deputy city manager right here in Lakewood. Please welcome to the program, Mr. Paulo Beltran. How you doing, Paulo?
Good, Eddie. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you, man. It's actually been a while. What have you been up to?
Man, just working. You know, it's been. We have this thing called COVID, right?
Yeah.
So
We do?
we do, right? You know, so that's been
Is it
taking up a lot
cool?
of my time. You know, yeah. You know, so it's been a challenge for sure, but
Sure.
you know, just doing the good deed for Lakewood residents.
Sure. Well, and your job.
And my job, yes.
Sure.
And which brings me, I know you're gonna ask me about what am I grateful for?
Sure,
right?
exactly.
Right, I'm segueing into that.
I like this. He actually did his research before he came on the program, and he actually knows what's going on. So he's going to segue us into our gratitude today. Paulo, what's your gratitude? What are you
Okay,
grateful for?
so I'm grateful for really again during this COVID pandemic.
Sure.
You know, still being able to do my job and
Absolutely.
and helping the people of Lakewood, right, in their
Okay.
time of need. You know, with the leadership of the city council and the city manager, you know, the fact that we're still able to help residents, you know, when so many people are out of work, when so many people are out of, you know, don't have the resources, the city stepped in its most basic role as you know, helping the community, and I'm really grateful for being able to do that. Of course, I'm also grateful for, you know, my own family being healthy and safe during this pandemic, and you know, and so I've got that to be grateful as well.
Those are all wonderful things to be grateful for, brother. How about you, Ari? What are you grateful for today?
Today, I am grateful for let's call it my networking circle. And I say that because there's never any dull times where you need advice to get advice from people that have been around a long time to shed light on things on how they used to be. So as I move forward, I can take cues from the past and still acclimate to the future. So my networking circle.
I dig that, dude. I dig that, bro. And that's fairly self-aware, to be honest with you. You know, having that kind of gratitude as far as your networking circle goes. You know, and knowing that that's, you know, going to keep you, you know, on track instead of just thinking that you're Superman and just can do it all yourself and just got it all down. You know what I mean? Like knowing that that's you know, there for your support system. And as far as you go, Paulo, like as far as your gratitude goes, like I really I love and respect that. The fact that, and I'm finding a common thread here with Joe, with you, with anyone who's successful that sits in this chair and talks about how and talks about why they're successful. I haven't really heard anybody say pinpoint it to this, but there's a common thread I'm finding here, and it's they're all happy to be helping their community. They're all happy to be helping other people. You know, and that's what you said. That was what your gratitude was. Your gratitude was that you're grateful to be able to work, do your job, and to help the residents of the city.
Right, and that's I think you'll find that, and you're saying you find that as a common thread.
It's a common thread.
You know, and
it is.
And really is, and I could attest to that because even in the depths of this coronavirus crisis, when we were helping people out, right?
Yeah.
We also had Lakewood residents that say, "Hey, how can we help out?"
Of course.
You know, our fellow residents, our fellow community. You know, and that really is a testament to the community that Lakewood is.
Right.
Really, you know.
Yeah, you know, I feel the same. I feel the same way. You know, I went down to the local sheriff station, and I spoke with the watch commander one morning not too long ago, and gave him my card. Said, you know, if you guys, once this is over, if you guys ever need any music, you know, and for any events, you know, call me free of charge. You know, I'd like to help out any way I can.
Yeah.
You know, I'm feeling the same way right now. It's like you just want to reach out and do what you can. You know, as a musician, it's not like I have a lot of like money or resources to give, but I can give my service and my time.
Time, talent, treasure, buddy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I know a lot right now, there's not a lot of gatherings, so that, you know, maybe the need for that isn't so great, but just whatever you can give and whatever time you can, you know, when you know, when that time is right, you know. So, but dude, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. It's like service above self, and then what happens is it like creates a void of positivity for the universe to fill. You know, we were talking about that with Joe. We've been talking about that with Ari. We were talking about that with everybody on the show. And you kind of like hit that right on the head with your gratitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then as far as keeping your network strong, I mean, that's just gonna solidify everything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I feel you guys on that. That's really good. You know, and you know, I'll go ahead and say, you know, I'm grateful today for the strength to make change. For sometimes, you know, that things aren't going the way. Sometimes things are good. Yeah. Sometimes you have a good situation and you know things are good, but you also know that maybe it's not for you anymore. You know, and sometimes it takes a lot of strength, inner strength, to just say, you know what, I don't know where I'm going, but I know that this isn't it. I know that this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and to be able to take a leap of faith and step out of that situation, not necessarily with the direction, but with just knowing that one thing might not be the best thing for you moving forward, you know, for the best version of yourself, for you to become the better version of yourself, you know.
Oh yeah, and I've gone through that myself, and I know that
we'll
probably talk about it. But it's taking that leap of faith. I took a leap of faith to get to where I am now.
How so?
So we could I guess we could start with my story. If
Please.
Let's
throw it out.
You know, so I immigrated here from the Philippines when I was age 10, right? So I was born in the Philippines, and you know what they say in the Hamilton musical, right? Immigrants, we get the job done, right? So you know, so my parents, you know, the same common thing about you know, finding a better life for their kids. So they took their leap of faith, moving from the Philippines to Long Beach.
Sure.
And then it was difficult at first, obviously, you know, adapting to the country and all that. You know, went to a school in Long Beach, North Long Beach. You know, saw my first incidents of gang violence.
Gang
violence, man. You know, one of my classmates, you know, fifth grade, he was, you know, I started school 1 week, and then 2 weeks later he was dead, a fifth grader, you know, from gang violence, because his brother was in the gang and he was shot down. So I'm thinking, oh man, this is totally new experience for us. And then you know, so when my parents, you know, saw that, they're like, okay, let's resolve to find a better place to live. We were living in a one bedroom apartment for 4 people, right? So we moved from Long Beach to the west side of Long Beach, where they were able to afford their first house, that I was saying to you guys earlier. And then from then on, they were able to save money, working, you know, 9-to-5 jobs, and then eventually made their way to Lakewood, right? And that's where we first sensed our belonging in Lakewood. moved there when I was in high school, and attended the local school at Long Beach Poly. And so, from Poly, you're conditioned, as a Filipino, and I'm sure, Ari will attest to this. It's like, hey, you got to be either a doctor, lawyer, or some other field, engineer or whatever, right? So, went to UCLA, looking at those possibilities, but, you realize, fast that, UCLA, very competitive. You got a lot of other smart kids there, a lot of other, difficult stories that they've had to go through. So then, tried to get into the engineering school, didn't pan out. My grades weren't good enough. So instead of wasting my classes on, on the sciences, I ended up just saying, okay, let's find a career where I can make some, some money to support myself, and then, not having to stay in college for another 5 years, right? So I ended up in biochemistry. That was the closest connection that I had with my classes that I took for engineering. So ended up in biochemistry, graduated from there.
And it wasn't necessarily an interest in biochemistry.
Not necessarily.
It was the fastest route to your degree.
Yes, because I was racking up debt. I was working through college, and I was like, I can't afford, any longer. My parents, obviously had very little resources themselves. So I was like, I'm not gonna stay in college just to pursue whatever I wanted at that point, right? And so I was like, I got to get a job. So I got a job for a multinational chemical company that was based in Burbank, and I worked there for 5 years as one of their chemists. It was just focused on, shipping product, making profit for the bottom line, and I know that, you work for a private company as well. Yep. You kind of get that sentiment, right? Absolutely. And then, at the end of that, 5 years, I was getting to the age where, I wanted to settle down with a family and figuring out the next steps, right? As you were saying. So I was like, I got this comfortable job paying decently. There's got to be something more to this. Got to be something more. I'm trapped in a lab, no windows. I'm going in 7:30, getting out 5 p.m. I don't see the sun at all, right? Or, late at night. So it's got to be something more. And so when I, decided to move back from Burbank back to Lakewood to the house where my parents bought, they had moved to Las Vegas because of economic opportunities, because that was the middle of the recession. So they moved to Vegas to get jobs. So they left the house in Lakewood. So I moved in there with my sister. And then I realized, let's see what the local city hall, is like. What kind of, what jobs are they offering? So I went down there. They had an internship job that was paying $12 an hour. And I was like, hey, this is cool. It's not in my league, but it's something out of my comfort zone, right? And it's nothing that I've ever trained for. In my previous job, I never had to really interact with community, folks or anything like that. But
sure.
This one,
coming from engineering to public service is quite the leap.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. It sure is. And so I took that leap, and with the support of my, my
another leap of faith, you might say.
A huge leap of faith. I was leaving a comfortable job to this great unknown, to this great
comfortable
void.
Job with. Could I assume with a fair salary?
Fair salary because of my degree and benefits.
I would assume so,
right? But then the calling was stronger than that. The pull of the calling, right? My parents had both, luckily secured jobs with the public, with the city over there in Vegas, and they said, hey, it's rewarding. You get to see folks, you help folks, so I thought, well, let's see what Lakewood. It's time for me to give back to Lakewood, right? See what I could do with Lakewood. So. So then I started that internship job, and then my first assignment was helping 3rd and 4th graders during the city's 50th anniversary do the tour of the library. So I was there giving them a tour. I didn't know most of the time what I was talking about.
That's awesome.
But the kids were enthralled with what I was saying. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to help people. So then that's my story. So that was 15 years ago, Eddie.
Wow.
And then over the years, I've climbed the rung in City Hall, and now I'm in the position that I'm in, fortunately.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I got a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Like it's such an interesting story. One question I have for you is a question I think a lot of people have in general about life, and a lot of young people kind of coming up. I think we'll have this question too. College debt to success ratio. I mean, what's your take on this? Like, because you're somebody who experienced it personally, who you had to make a change. You literally had to make a change because you couldn't forego the longevity of of a specific degree, so you had to kind of make a shift. What's your take on that? What's your advice to any kids out there who might be running into the same problem, or even considering maybe getting a degree that doesn't take as long or something along these lines?
Good question. I mean, it really comes down to the person, right? But my general advice is that, as much as possible, if you know what you want to do in your life, right? If you know what that passion is,
sure,
don't be driven by the economics of that passion. Don't think that, oh crap, I'm only gonna make $20K a year because I'm doing this, right?
Such a great answer.
So yeah. Because for me, the 5 years that I spent in that lab, I could have been doing that. I could have been doing what I'm doing 5 years sooner.
Sure.
But then, of course, we don't all experience the call.
I was going to say, did you know that that this was something for you then, though?
Which one?
Did you know that public service was something for you at that time?
At that time, it was, yeah, because the fulfilling nature of that first assignment that I did was I came home and I came home and said, you know what? The clock went by fast. I wasn't clock watching at the lab or anything like that, and then to see the kids' smiles at the end of the day and calling me Mr. Beltran, it's like
there is almost no more emotionally rewarding feeling than that. I'll tell you, like owning the nonprofit and working with kids, I've been on stage in front of thousands of people, singing your songs and cheering, as you play, and nobody else has that job. Nobody else gets to get cheered while they get their job done, and there's no other feeling like that. However, when I went into that first classroom and I wrote my first song with my first group of kids, and I got to see those kids sing the song for the school and their parents, and how it just amazed everyone was with these kids, and the kids were just like, dude, like they're having such a good time, and it was just like that. There was that was far greater of an emotionally rewarding experience than actually being on stage in front of thousands of people with them singing. It's crazy feeling.
You're right.
So you're actually right. Like there's something about public service that's actually fulfilling.
Yeah.
That actually lets you lay your head on a pillow at night and go, I'm gonna sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Well, obviously there's certain aspects that will definitely put a strain on that. But for the most part, with your personal, self, when you're out there and you're really pushing and you're doing it for the right reasons, you're gonna sleep good at night.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
I mean, just
happy with yourself.
Even for you as a calling, sometimes for other people, it's just a door opening. The question is if you're gonna.
What do you mean by that?
Door. So for me, he had a calling really early. I didn't have a calling really early. I was driven towards that medical industry out of the gate. I'll tell you right now, I failed it all. I failed nursing. I failed radiology. I failed like 7 of the medical, but I gravitated to one of them, like pharmacy. I said, okay, let me go be a pharmacy tech first to see how I like this. Then I was considering going to pharmacy school. Then I was working as a floating pharmacy tech down in the South Bay, and I remember vividly it was, I don't want to put him on the spot. It was a K-Rock DJ, Ricky Rackman.
I remember Ricky, dude.
Remember his wife?
I don't.
Beautiful bombshell. And I recognized her. She came in. She looked a mess. She was spitting everywhere and snoring. I was like, oh, dude, I'm over this industry. It was that quick for me. It was that quick. I said, I'm over the medical industry. I don't want to deal with sick people. I don't want to be sad all the time.
Bro.
And for me, it was like, okay, then mom and dad, being Filipino, you have to it's all about school. It doesn't matter what you do. Yeah. It's all about finishing school. So I kind of took a break, which they weren't really happy. Then one day I asked them, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back. It's mine if I keep living here. They're like, yeah. And then after that, it was just, I found business. I started a business with a buddy of mine, and it has not stopped. Literally.
What was that first one you found?
So
what was that first business?
It was a hockey business. So I was on the beginning cusp of roller hockey industry in Southern California. So I got to travel, got to play on sponsored teams, met a lot of good friends, and it was like hockey 4 or 5 days a week and traveling to tournaments and go to Japan, go to Australia,
wow.
go to Canada.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah, and playing tournaments every other weekend in all these other states. And then we were funded. We started a business with some buddies of mine in Long Beach. We were funded by Tommy Lasorda's Myriad Group. And then after that, we sold to these guys in the Midwest. I'm like, okay, dude, business is my game. I remember strictly talking to mom, like, hey, mom, I'm going back to school. Dad's like, huh? And dude, it just knocked out Long Beach State marketing, business admin and marketing, like 3.5 years. Because I was so focused. It all made sense. I didn't go to class to go to sleep. I went to class and I was just like, wow. Like, it was like a board hit me in the head. Like I'm just overly engaged. It was crazy, dude. And I was kind of older too. So had to go in there with my flip-flops, my Dickies, and my T-shirt, and my backwards hat to make sure that I'm young. Look young because you're in a marketing class. It's all young people, So, but at one point, I didn't even care. It was so fun. I had a good time, and then it has not. None of the doors have shut since. Like there's these little doors that open, and you just walk right through them. Mm-hmm. He had a calling. I have these doors that open, just little doors. They just crack open just a little bit, and I'm just like,
yeah, you got to make it on through.
Yeah, and that's what's happened to me now. With this whole public service. Being part of this nonprofit sector, it's just these little doors like this.
Right.
It'll be like, hey, what do you think? I'm like, yeah, I'm in. They don't even ask me yet. I already tell them I'm in. And it's like, and then you just keep going. It's like, for me, it's a blessing, So, yeah. So sometimes it's a little door that opens. You need to see it first. It's not a calling. Like he's lucky to have a calling. I don't have a calling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, sometimes it's not as apparent.
No.
Sometimes and to be honest with you, sometimes you got to try different things and feel around.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the door doesn't open for you.
No.
Sometimes you don't have the option of like having someone call you up and go, hey, come try this with me or whatever it may be. You know.
Yeah. But that's why you have to keep your eyes open.
That's right.
Keep your eyes open. There's, like Ari was saying is there's doors in front of you, right? And whatever door you choose to go through, it's your choice.
Well, let me ask you this. Like, you choose to go through one of these doors and you chose to go through public service. Okay. So when you got in as an intern, here in the city of Lakewood, you've been there, did you say 12 years now?
15 years
now.
Yeah.
So you're here 15 years now. What drove the growth? What drove the I really want to do this. I want to climb the ranks. I want to actually succeed in this arena.
So it was a combination of the job evolving from the internship to ultimately to what I'm doing now.
Sure.
But also the ambition, right? My personal ambition, to do better and to continue helping the city of Lakewood. And when I first came on, we had a city manager, Howard Chambers,
Sure.
The longest serving city manager in California history.
Oh, really?
So he was the big guy. And
nice.
I came in there, everybody was at least 25, 30-year employees of Lakewood. So I came in there with a fresh set of eyes. So I think what helped was, I come in there from the outside, essentially, right? I came in with an analytical mind, with the background in sciences and with engineering. And I came into a situation where, okay, so, let's look at this situation where they've been looking at this with one particular set of eyes. I'm going to look at it with another set of eyes. So based on that, the projects that I did were innovative. They were creative. They were things that worked, that were that had not been looked at before in that particular way, and so which was refreshing because the management supported that. Howard supported that, and my bosses supported that. And so as I climbed through the ladder, I applied those same principles to the things I do to this day.
You're super young. How old were you when you got into public service?
So I was 27.
Really?
27.
Okay. Because I was gonna say. So that's it. So do you have any ambitions of doing what he does, of being the politician?
So it's interesting because so your listeners may wonder what the difference is between what I'm doing and what Ari is doing. So Ari,
why don't you explain the difference between deputy?
So local government 101, right? So I'll give you guys a local government 101. So I'm a professional staffer. So I am the person that works at City Hall, gets paid for what I do, and that's my career, right? For Ari here, he was elected by the people of Lakewood. So he's the council member. The people of Lakewood elected him to represent them in city government. So the role there is for Ari, and along with his colleagues, mayor and vice mayor and the two other council members, their role is to create policy for Lakewood, as they represent the people of Lakewood. So, it could be things like, for example, for this COVID thing, how do we support our businesses? So let's create this policy of doing this business grant program. Okay, city manager, deputy city manager, go ahead and create that program. So we get directed by them when they create policy to execute their policy direction. So that's the difference, right? So ultimately, we're beholden to to the council, and then they're beholden to the people of Lakewood.
Sure.
So that's the separation of roles. So as far as you asked about the question whether I had the ambition to be a politician, it wouldn't be in Lakewood, right? If I did, but I don't have that. I'm more of a professional staffer, and I love what I do, and tell these guys telling me what to do is what I do best, and I like to stay in the background, and if they tell me, hey, Paulo, come up with a program to help feed our residents during this COVID thing, okay, we'll do, and we'll do that, so that's really the difference. We take our direction from them, and they've been, as you could see, and as a lot of Lakewood residents know, the city council in Lakewood over the many years since our inception has been doing a very fine job of managing the city.
Yeah. Now let me ask you. You brought up something really interesting that you just said. If the city council were to approach you and say, "Hey, we want you to, spearhead this thing about how to, get more food, to Lakewood residents during the COVID thing," what programs? So that is within your purview.
Yes.
So that's the type of thing that's within your purview. Very interesting, actually. In fact, so interesting. So that what other kinds, throughout, your tenure here at Lakewood. What other programs like that have you guys put into place under city management?
So the most recent one was with this Lakewood Cares program that Councilmember Pei, took part in, and it was a collaboration with the service organizations in Lakewood, including Rotary.
Okay.
Primarily Rotary, and so the city, our role is let's get the party together, right? Let's get the party going.
Sure.
Let's see how this is our challenge in front of us. We need to feed 1,000 people. In this pandemic,
this is the CARES program.
This is the CARES program that we had, I think, back in early May.
And what is it for? What does it do exactly?
So what we did there is we offered a food box of essential food and supplies to Lakewood residents in need. So it was a drive-by event.
Yep.
That
they can come pick up resources, PPE, very cool.
Food.
Where'd you get the food and stuff? Did you get it donated?
So it was a donation working with the Rotary. They donated food, and and that's why our service organizations in Lakewood are so awesome, because they work with the city hand in hand, with the common goal of helping people, right? So they stepped up.
Rotary, YMCA.
Yeah. So those folks, Speaker Rendon's office, they stepped up with the masks, and individual businesses contributed, and also individual people contributed. Like I was telling you earlier, how people called us and said, "Hey, how can I help with this Lakewood Cares? I just got my stimulus money. I'll just give all of that to this program." So we were able to fund that program through the generous contributions of the service organizations and people, and so it was my job to coordinate all of that and to ensure that we had food for the type of food that we were giving away to people, the essentials and things like that. Of course, Lakewood Center Mall contributed their property where we were able to do the drive.
Where you did the drive, very cool. So from the resources that were all donated, correct?
All donated, yeah.
So awesome.
No
even
cost.
To the location.
Yeah.
Lakewood Mall set up for you guys and let you guys do.
Yeah. And then the best part is,
legit.
Eddie, the best part was, and Ari saw this, was, people come up and then they have tears in their eyes.
Yeah.
You know what? You Lakewood helped me get through this week.
Yeah.
I mean, what going back to my reaction when the kids, right, with the library tour, and they had a smile after that. This was the same, right, Eddie? You look at people, their tears in their eyes. They got their kid in the back with their dog. We even gave pet food away.
Yeah.
And that's touching, because you're like, whatever I do is worth it. That makes you sleep better now, in your own words.
Even to the flip side of that, the volunteers that came out to that helped. Like, so I obviously, like me, I'm the chronic volunteer of Lakewood. I'm considered, but it was cool because the volunteers had fun. Like, if I was giving milk away with Councilmember Croft or Councilmember Rogers or Mayor Rogers, we were like smiling, like kind of joking around, you know, and you can tell that we were having fun. And then when the families pull up, it was very like enlightening, like, hey, we're your council members, and they're like, oh my God, you know, like, hey, thank you. But it was more of like smiles and like we're attainable and we're reachable and we're just regular people like you, making sure that and we don't want and there was no like they felt like guilty they were taking food. It was more like, hey, smile, we're all in Lakewood. It was so for me, I got that sense of like of volunteering and having fun. And when you have fun, there's this energy. You know what I'm saying? There's this energy around you and who you're around, and it will show to whoever you're working with, so they're not feeling like intimidated. Oh, you're giving me something. It's more of like, hey, what's up? What do you do? What else do you need? And you know, thank you. And then we're gone, next car. And it was kind of like that. So I think on that end too, like for volunteers, it was very rewarding. It was very rewarding. Yeah, right. But you know, like how we are, we always try to make everything fun. You know, so
and that's really the heart of what we do. Is we help people, but we also want to make it fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why in Lakewood, Eddie, 50% of the city budget goes to recreation and community services programs. I know that you've had a few classes offered through our RCS programs. Sure. So a community is well served by our recreation and community services program through the classes that they offer. So
dig that. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
We're talking about helping individuals. We're talking about how the city, gets out there and helps individuals on a regular basis. And the programs you guys put in are awesome. And like you said, tears in their eyes because the city is helping them get through the week. On the flip side of that coin, I gotta ask about the business owners. There's a lot of Lakewood business owners who have tears in their eyes for not the same reason.
Sure.
And we were talking about Kidstown, yesterday, and how they're struggling really bad right now, and a lot of other Lakewood business owners are struggling through this, and a lot of people, don't necessarily agree that we should be where we are as far as still closed and mandatorily as such. And so as far as the city helping individuals, what is the city doing to help out some of the businesses around like Kidstown who are really struggling, or like for instance Brad's sweatshop, the sweatshop gym, what could have been done, or what are we doing to help the brick and mortars and the businesses here in Lakewood stay alive, during this thing, and also what are we doing to as a group and as a community, look into potentially, communicating with the state, legislators about reopening, about the fact that people in our economy, in our local economy are for lack of a better term just dying and losing their businesses altogether. What's the city doing, and how are we communicating with the state, in order to find best ways to.
Definitely good questions. So the city, what we see as a city, right, it's actually made up of three prongs in a stool, right?
Sure.
So one prong is the residents, another prong are the businesses, and the third prong is the city itself, right? So that composes the community we know as Lakewood. Sure. So we find the businesses equally as important.
Of course, as our
residents.
Seriously, you guys are really awesome about that.
And especially when that the city,
especially small businesses, you're very supportive.
Very supportive.
Let's just put that out there.
Especially because businesses, the revenue that they generate through sales taxes is critical to the city in providing those services that I mentioned to residents, right?
Of course.
So we take businesses and their needs very seriously. So unfortunately with this pandemic, you mentioned the stay-at-home orders and all that coming from the state. It affected a lot of businesses throughout Lakewood. Sure. And we advocated, the city manager and myself, Thaddeus, and of course the council as well, we advocated for the state to make exceptions, because you've got this blanket one-size-fits-all kind of deal.
That might not work for everybody.
That might not work for everybody. So our argument is like, what?
So you have actually appealed to the state, and
we have
really,
count the state and the county. So
you're kidding.
We're during the height of this pandemic in March and April. Thaddeus and I were on the phone with the county officials saying, can you please take into account the different circumstances that our Lakewood Mall is in as compared to other businesses, because it was a one size fits all, and we're like, it doesn't fit that.
Right.
For example, when
So you're out there fighting for your businesses.
out there fighting
I
for
love
the
it.
businesses, man. I mean,
I think, to be honest with you, I think that's what we want to hear.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's what just people like myself who own businesses. I think that's all. I think that's right now. That's all we can expect.
Yeah.
We can't expect the giant to be to give it overnight, but to know that our local leaders are stepping up for us in that way. That says it's a world of like positivity to me.
Yeah.
That's everything to me in my heart. That makes me feel like that makes me feel like you guys care about us as citizens of the city.
well, thank you. Yeah, and we know how important you guys are. And I'll just tell you one example of a business that I helped. It was a the motorcycle company that makes the padded jackets.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Custom right there. They're on Cover Street, and they were affected by the closure.
Sure.
But then our argument to the county was, so it's all custom, right? They don't sell on site. It was all
Right,
online
of
and
course.
stuff.
Online,
So
yeah.
they were shut down. I said, but I told the county, nobody's visiting the business on site
Right.
to buy. Can't they stay open and manufacture these custom things that they send to Tennessee, that they sent to Indianapolis, and they allowed an exemption.
Did they really?
They allowed an exemption for them. Another
So-
example was a medical uniform company up on South Street. They were also allowed an exemption because we argued that, look, they don't fall neatly into these categories that you're telling people to shut down on.
Yes.
So we did that. We wish we could have done more, because honestly,
I understand.
Yeah.
And there's some things like Kidstown where you're open to where that business heavily relies being open to the public and heavy
tough.
public
with
interaction.
gathering, yeah,
Gathering.
Because it's a playground. Essentially, it's an indoor
Yeah.
playground.
Yeah.
So that's harder. I get, but
Yeah.
the fact that you guys have stepped up as a city for your small businesses and actually contacted like state, and county
Yes,
legislation
yeah.
and said, hey, we need exemptions here. We gotta have our economy still working for us. That's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge, and that's to be honest with you, I think that's. I think this is I think it's really good that I asked this question because a lot of people like myself don't know this. We just assume that every city is going along with every mandate that's being put out there, and we're just sitting around idly by going, well, what are our representatives doing?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know that you're doing this. We don't know that you're behind the scenes working your ass off to put a motorcycle jacket company back in business. We don't know that you're working your butts off to put a medical supply store back in business. Like, these are the things that we need to hear. This is the information that as the people that we need to hear, that we need to know you guys are behind us, and you are. That's
Yeah.
the cool thing.
Yeah.
Is that I feel like a lot of people assume that you're not because of the end result.
Yep.
right.
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And they don't get to see that you guys are out there fighting a good fight every day on behalf of not only the residents but the business owners. Dude, that's huge to me.
Well, yeah,
that really
and-
gives me a lot of.
Share the Lakewood Mall story. When it was only curbside pickup, and then
Yeah, so the Lakewood Mall was the one that we advocated for really, aggressively as well because, obviously they're the heart of Lakewood, right? They provide our sales tax revenue, a huge chunk of it. And, the thing that we told the county was, how about, allowing them to do curbside? Curbside retail pickup. Nobody's gonna go into the stores. They're not gonna be exposed inside. They're doing their infection controls and whatever. Just allow them. So they were also allowed to do that. And I credit the Lakewood Mall leadership with Dina and Annette there because they've been very creative in trying to also keep their businesses that are inside the mall open. So they're doing that outdoor summer sale that the city is working with them in conjunction on the weekends. So those businesses
Super
are going
cool.
out. And finally, the council, approved the city's share of the COVID relief funds. We gave away to 59 businesses $1,000 grants each.
I was wondering about that. In fact,
Yes.
that was one of the things I was getting at with that question because I got the email from the city as well. I'm not a brick and mortar, so I couldn't apply for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things I was asking about Kidstown because I know that you are doing some things for the businesses here, and I know that was one of them. I know that you guys gave $1,000 grant to brick and mortar businesses out in Lakewood, to help pay their rent and to help keep them
Right.
to help keep roofs over their heads.
And we hope that if things go well, we hope to do a phase 2 where we could probably envelop more types of businesses, including non-brick and mortar. So stay tuned for that. But
Awesome.
there's always in the front of our minds is how do we pass this on to help our businesses?
I love that. I love that. Do we see an end to the closures, at least on a smaller level, where we can possibly open up businesses like Kidstown, as long as we take certain precautions?
Well, yeah, I mean, the LA County is meeting, I think, 90% of the state's requirement for them to be able to be off their state watch list, which
Okay.
means that potentially if we get off the watch list, then more businesses can reopen in phases.
Such as restaurants, such as-
indoor dining, malls, things like that. So just crossing our fingers, if people continue to do what they're doing, with masks and washing their hands and socially distancing, I mean, that really does make a difference. Really does.
Well, I mean, everybody's out there doing their part. We just want, our representatives, the people who we voted to represent us.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. That's where we're at. So we're doing our part so that they will step up and do theirs. So we expect that, and we're gonna hold their feet to the fire. So hopefully our county legislators and our state legislators understand that that they work for us. We're trying. We voted them in, and we want them to to make policy in our best interests, in the small business's best interest, and people who live here, the people who work here, the people who have grown up here, people who have given their all to this city, this state, this county. You know what I mean? I mean, me. I grew up in Long Beach. I was born at Long Beach Memorial Hospital. I grew up on West Side of Long Beach. I moved over by Jordan High School, and I lived there for some time. And I moved all around Long Beach and Lakewood my whole life. So this is my home.
Yeah.
I put my entire heart and soul, and I continue to put my heart and soul into this town. And I just think that, as I speak for a lot of the residents out here when I say that we expect our leaders to do the same.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But dude, I'll be honest with you, Lakewood is, from what you've told me today, is like standing head and shoulders above other local cities. From what I understand, as far as how much representation you are providing for your citizens and for your businesses, like you guys are doing big things.
And that's what we call the Lakewood.
Huge.
That's what we call the Lakewood Way. And when during the campaign for that Measure L, we asked people, what do you know about the Lakewood Way? And then they all said, hey, it's what we do, right? It's the parks, the community services, the business help, and all that. And it really comes down from the leadership of the Lakewood City Council and the mayor and the council members there. I mean, they had this priority that we're going to be doing this, and you see Mayor Rogers doing his weekly updates.
Yeah. What's weird about that too is, I'll say, kind of goes back to the very beginning about this gratitude that you had.
Yeah.
About the helping people. Everybody that I know that works in City Hall, from you to Todd to Jeff to Valerie, to everybody, you all have the same kind of demeanor.
We're all different.
You're all different people, but you have the same demeanor of, like, I'm happy to give my time to you if you need it. What do you need? Can I do you need me for 5 minutes? Can I jump on the phone with you?
Yep.
Not one person in City Hall, I've not had one of you guys not answer an email, or I didn't even know you guys at first, and I didn't even know you, bro.
Yeah.
I walked up and I gave you my card. I got your card.
Remember,
I
you
emailed
you met with Thaddeus, remember?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You hit me up the next day. You were super cool. You invited me down to meet, to meet everybody. I came down to City Hall. Man, it's like, but it's that way with everybody down there.
Yeah.
And that's the point of what I'm saying is, the city of Lakewood seems to be another common thread, that we are represented by ourselves, that we are represented by people who have our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well put.
That's very legit. And case in point, Ari, you grew up here. You went to Bosco. You all your businesses are in Lakewood. You are as Lakewood as it gets. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you still have your tentacles out there. And you got everybody. From professional sports stars to extreme sports stars, to actors and all kinds of people who who you work with and know you and and respect you very well. And heads of business and stuff. And I gotta say, I appreciate that about our public servants, our elected leaders. Thank you guys. And I'll say this, and I'll say also on behalf of everyone watching out there, thank you. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the countless hours you guys put in to making sure that we stay safe, to making sure that we have the programs necessary to where people don't go hungry, to where they can drive into the mall, pick up a box of food for their families, and go home and be able to actually have, you know, and not have to worry about where they're going to get their next meal. Being able to help out, give out grants to businesses who are struggling through this. Not only being able to, but stepping up and calling the county, the state, and legislators and working on behalf of small businesses who are suffering in the midst of this. I don't know about y'all, but Joe Ung just seems to just be thriving and just taking off in all kinds of different directions. He's all, I don't need y'all help. He's just running around. Doing
Can I add?
His vision is a little
please
different.
do.
So can I add one more thing to the business thing? So I'd be remiss to say that, you know, one of the most challenging nights that I've ever encountered here in Lakewood in 15 years was the night of May 31st, 2020. That's when the riots from Long Beach came into our town.
Yep.
And you know, and looted 20 of our stores in Lakewood. It could have been worse had it not been for the foresight and planning of the people, you know, people in the city.
Sure.
And you know, and it, like the mayor had always said, it's the worst night of his life, but also the best night of his life in Lakewood, because he saw the worst in people, but the best in terms of
The community.
the community response to it. The fact that, you know, the sheriffs were on the calls. I mean, it was every 3 minutes, Eddie, that we got a call, and Thaddeus and myself and the mayor and our public safety director were out till midnight that night, helping protect stores. I mean, you may think, oh, what's 4 guys, you know, that are not cops doing? But, you know, for example, there was this Walgreens on Carson and Woodruff.
That's right here.
Right here.
That's 1 block. That's less than that's a quarter mile from my house.
Yeah, so you're very familiar. It was broken into.
I know.
It was looted.
Trust me, I know.
And then, unfortunately, those stores, they did not have the policy of boarding up their broken into stores right away. So it was left open. So our concern was, if somebody comes in and drives by and says, "Hey guys, free for all at the Walgreens, come on and come all." So we stood over there, and you know, we saw several cars pass by, kind of like, you know, casing the joint and all that, but we were able to stand guard and protect the store, and to the point where Skyknight, the helicopter, even came up above us and thought we were the looters. You know, we had to call we had to call them, "Hey, no, that's us, guys." You know, but then
Uncle Sonny.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, you know, the sheriffs came together. We saw Ari that night.
Yeah.
You know, he was over at Allure Salon by his store. He was, you know, he's saying, "Hey, give me a hammer. I'm ready to board, you know, to board wood."
Yeah.
You know, our city staff boarded, you know, the businesses that were not able to board. You know, and then I know the next day, I think it was the chamber that organized that event to clean up and stuff like that. So, you know, it was another example of people, you know, coming together to help the businesses. Yeah.
That and the preparedness and readiness of the city itself.
Yeah, and then alluding to that is, prior to that, we anticipated that, okay, there might be a civil unrest here. What can we do to protect the mall? Because that was a target on social media. And so, you know, our city manager had the foresight of, hey, let's put up some K-rails, some barricade K-rails up on the entrances and barricade it so they can't come in. And it worked wonders. They couldn't go into Target. They couldn't just go in, smash a grab, and leave by car. They had to do it by foot. And so that obviously reduced the effectiveness of them looting. So, you know, it was much more lessened than they were able to do in Long Beach, as opposed to the Pine Street stores where they just drove up and came in and drove off. So really, you know,
I mean, for me, that night, when you talk about community, I was just listening to like the app and listening to what was going on in Lakewood, and one of the kids in the neighborhood called me. He's one of the kids that rides their motorcycles in the neighborhood, pisses all the cops off. He's like, "Yo, Ari, you know, 7-Eleven just got smashed."
Yeah, right there on Woodruff and another quarter mile from my house in the other direction.
He's like, "Hey, we're all gonna go to your shop and kind of hang out." I said, "All right, let's go." So we all hung out, and the kids called me. If you need anything, let us know. And everybody was just hanging out in front of the shop.
They didn't want your shop to get busted up.
Yeah,
so they went down there and chilled.
Hair salon came out, but it was cool that the community called me. Then I was able to relay a message to the owners of the hair salon, and then relay to John's Liquor, to that whole crew, and hey, everything's good. We're here. Okay, thank you. You know, it was cool, man. Like this, everybody started coming out of the woodworks to protect their bubble. You know, so it was cool.
Right.
Yeah, and that was a community.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
so that's
Eddie.
another story that people don't really
don't
know,
know.
but
Right.
it was a difficult night, but
And I know that night
Yeah.
we also had rioting and looting at the Lakewood Mall. Did we not? And did we not have National Guard out?
so we had the National Guard.
So let me ask you this.
After
so
that week,
so that's
yeah.
something different that Lakewood did, that a lot of cities around here didn't do. That they just decided not to. I feel that was obviously a good move for us, and it kept us safe. I feel. What's the deal with that? What's the deal with the fact that Lakewood's willing to actually put that out there and say, we're gonna push law and order in this city?
Yeah, it's known in the region that Lakewood Mall was a target at that time. So the National Guard was deployed by the people deploying them to say, hey, let's strategically place a convoy out there, a unit out there at the Lakewood Mall, and they were very helpful. I mean, they obviously, discouraged, any further,
Sure.
assaults on the city. So that was a great move, as well.
Well, do you know? I mean, being in city, being in public service and in city,
Yeah.
in city management. Do you know why we were one of the only cities, in the surrounding areas that decided to make that call?
Yeah, I think it's because we know that we had a regional mall that many people go to from all the different
So you
parts of
thought
the
that
region.
that could have potentially been a convergence point
Yeah.
for
Oh, yes. Yes.
for chaos.
And from the
Right.
intelligence we saw on social media, it was no doubt that people were targeting the mall.
So you just made the decision to make it happen,
Right.
and to keep it safe. Smart.
Right.
Smart.
It was
Very smart.
educated. I mean, you tracked, we followed, we saw a lot of fingers and everybody sharing information.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, moving forward, getting closer to election season, as that goes, I could only imagine after talking to you today that the city's already taking planning precautions for any potential further unrest, since we've already seen it this year and things like that, things of that nature, and you've seen things on social media as well with people actually planning social unrest, around that time anyway, so you've got that thing in Washington D.C. that they're planning, to start in September, so it's like, so what are we doing as a city? So people out there who are watching that are local, can understand that we are doing something to make sure that we're prepared and that we're taking measures to make sure that our citizens and businesses stay safe, as time goes on and we move forward.
Yeah. So before I address that part of your question, I wanted to touch on the very important topic of why the civil unrest was happening in the first place. Obviously, because of the George Floyd, murder.
Sure.
Right. So the city, and again under the leadership of the city council, engaged the community with these dialogues. So we're that's what we're doing now, right? So with the talks about the race relations and then the social justice issues and things like that are going on right now in this country, the city council was proactive in saying, okay, let's form an interfaith council composed of I think it was 15 to 20 religious leaders in Lakewood to start this conversation.
Very interesting.
So the mayor formed that, and so he's talking with them, and then they're formulating, conversation pieces to engage the community on a broader scale, to talk to the community about race relations in Lakewood. I mean, fact of the matter is, Eddie, we've talked about this whole time about how great Lakewood is, how great the people are, but being a person of color myself, when we first moved into Lakewood, there were some instances where we felt that we did not belong. It was subtle, but there were those instances, and some community members had expressed that at the council meeting in June. Where
this year,
yeah. So right after the protests and all that, they came to the council, and their message was, their first message was, I love Lakewood, I love this community, but this is my story.
Yep.
This is my story of being stopped on the street. This is my story of my sons being accosted. This is my story of this and that. So so coming out of that, then we were. That's why we're forming this community dialogue, to ensure that people are heard on what their stories are and what the city can do about it. And
that's beautiful.
Along with that is the review of use of force policies by the sheriff's department.
Of course.
So it's that approach where we're talking with the interfaith council. We're going to talk with our community. Our employees have gone through racial and social justice training, and then now we're gonna talk about the use of force and look to see how that could be changed, because when you're looking at the use of force, obviously de-escalation is one of the things that could be looked at.
Of course, and I think it's traditionally, as far as we've seen, de-escalation is used. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, more training, better training, is I feel is key. Actually, when all this started, and when look, 99.9%, 0.99% of the people on this planet, who saw that video thought it was absolutely detestable and disgusting, and recognized it for what it was. And we all know that it was a terrible tragedy that could have absolutely been avoided. And working, when that happened, moving forward, I was just as appalled. I was just as disgusted. I was just as sick to my stomach. So that day I remember calling Jeff. Mm-hmm. Jeff is the vice mayor of this city. And I asked him, I said, Jeff, if this were to happen in our city, in Lakewood, could we, I said, how could we as a citizenry vote out the police force that has been overly excessive, that has been, I asked him, I said, is there any way we could somehow get it to a municipal level where the citizens are where the police are held accountable by the citizenry, which means that we vote on a municipal level every 2 years. What would it take to get the police on the ballot so we can vote them out if they decide to, if we decided police were this way? This being said, I would like to say for a moment here, I highly support our sheriff station. Yeah. Like I said, I went down there with my card earlier. I love the cops. I love what they do for our community. I also have a story when I was younger of a not so great experience when I saw my father have not so great experience with the police. However, I still realize that all cops are not bad. Mm-hmm. They do so much good for our community, and I respect them with all my heart. And give a wave every time I see them. But what can we do to make to help the police officers stay accountable to us, and maybe take away some of the protections that they've been afforded in the past when a wrongdoing has occurred? And we've all seen, a body cam footage of someone being, an unarmed person being unjustly shot, and then that cop getting paid suspension or paid leave or something along those lines. Yeah. And I talked to Jeff about that for a long time, for over an hour. We spoke about these things, about how we can change, and actually Jeff was very he was very informative when he explained to me that we're the first contract city in the nation. Indeed. Yeah. And we actually have the power to do that. We're our citizens to come to City Hall and say, or come to a meeting and say, hey, we want our to be represented by Long Beach Police Department instead of the Sheriff's Department. Yeah. Sheriffs are or whatever, if we were unhappy with them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think that this being said, I think my point here is that after this, happened, after the tragedy happened, we're all looking for ways to make things better. Yep. We're all looking for ways to improve the community, to improve the service of protection. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And at the same time, going back to what we were talking about earlier, keep the community safe.
Right.
And to go back to the mayor's plan with the Interfaith Council was it's not the set all end all be all. It's more of a platform to basically open up a communicative dialogue with the community and make sure that we're always taking information in and start collecting, let's call it data, to make sure that we address the right issues. So from your comment and feeling of how you feel is the end to find those results, but we're in the process of building the foundation and infrastructure to get to that place to where we can make some decisions and listen to the community on that
and
part.
Potentially make changes if necessary.
Well, obviously there are going to be changes made.
Well, I mean, I just mean like, I just mean that. Well, first of all, I don't agree with the defunding of police. That's just my personal opinion. That, in my opinion, I don't believe that was a good move in general. I think that more training is a good thing. Not taking police off the streets. So but I get what you're saying. In fact, I agree. Like, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, so it's more of let's call it the structure and the infrastructure that's going to start us being able to address it correctly versus just kind of,
Sure.
hey, you got an issue, let's address it right now. No, it's not that.
Of course.
Let's talk to everybody and then go one by one and have everybody, call it the community, the IFC, come together and help us actually address those issues.
Well, now you're using critical thought, which is kind of awesome, and I don't think it's it's like a lot of a lot of times today people will just kind of jump as fast as they can to a conclusion without, like you said, taking stock in everybody's opinion and finding out, I missed this. There's a big hole in what I thought here because I didn't catch this information. Let's just poll some people who are, who are very in touch with the community and very in touch with their certain pods of the community, and let's really get everyone. Let's get a real sense of where everyone's at, and then let's try and work towards the best the best outcome for us all. Absolutely. And be honest with you, I really feel like Lakewood's done an incredible job of that. As of, going through this entire thing, I think Lakewood's been head and shoulders above the rest, like I said earlier, as far as helping the citizens move through this, helping the businesses, small businesses, and not even small businesses, dude. You guys were out in front of Walgreens.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's not your mom and pop shop.
No. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys want... And another thing, personally... You didn't, call the cops and run away. You went out. You went out there and stood there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'll be honest with you, that takes balls. That takes giant balls.
Yeah,
Paulo.
we didn't know at 11 o'clock at night. It's like, are we doing the right thing here?
Man, you were doing something that was potentially you could have got harmed.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, dude. Like, that takes courage. That takes courage to stand up for your community and say, I'm not going to allow this to happen. Yeah. You too.
Put my citizen hat on, not being, the public servant that I am. I'm in front of my shop and I rode my bike because I didn't want no one to blow my car up, and I'd be really pissed off because I want to have a car. So I rode my bike to my shop, and then I rode the 7-Eleven, and I called the mayor, Todd. Mayor Rogers. I go, hey, Todd, dude, 7-Eleven just got smashed. And then an hour and a half later, Paulo calls me, how you doing? I said, I'm good. I'm in front of the shop, and they came by. So everybody was moving around in that city that night, Paulo, Thaddeus, the whole public safety team was out, the mayor was out. The mayor was out. They were running around in cars. So, we have to protect our city here. And
I love it.
It was pretty cool. Everybody was quick to answer phones, or they get back to you in 5-10 minutes because it was happening so fast that night.
Yeah, it was one after the other.
One right after the other. And we just got to make sure and keep reports to make sure we can kind of get a grasp on everything, So it was pretty cool, but it's also pretty scary because when you're sitting there on your bike, you can just hear everything in the city going on. You can hear cars speeding.
You can hear the helicopters.
You can hear the
helicopters up that night.
Coming around all the time. You see cars going on Delama at 100 miles an hour. It was crazy, dude.
That's gnarly.
And cars that come by our section, and we were a little bit dark, which was cool, but you had 10 people out in our parking lot just hanging out. So they're like, okay, we're going by. And there's all the kids in the neighborhood, and my neighbor's just hanging out, So
that's chill though. Out there just taking care, And look, I love that. That's one thing about Lakewood I have got to say. The community. Yep. The community vibe, the love that everyone's got for each other, from the mayor all the way on down, from the mayor to the vice mayor to the city manager to the deputy city manager, to everybody all the way on down.
Yeah, that is who we are.
It is. It truly is. Everyone I've met, and I'll go back to when I was talking about when I met you. The day I met you, it's at the Speaker Rendon at the coffee thing.
Yeah.
It was the day we started talking actually too. I'll go back to that day and I'll say that everyone that I've met since then. Everyone that I've met moving forward in the chamber, moving forward with city council, moving forward with Lakewood in general, has been the person that you want representing you, the person that you want serving you in public service. It's the ideal, usually it's the ideal person that you see in your mind of wow, this is who I want running our cities. So again, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say thank you, and I'm gonna end the show with a little bit of gratitude for you guys, for Todd, Jeff, Steve, yourself, everyone in city council. I know I'm forgetting a couple. Everyone, Diane, everybody who works in the city, Thaddeus, Valerie, yourself, everyone who's backstage that I don't know about. And I appreciate you guys, putting your time and your effort in and keeping us safe, keeping us fed, keeping our lights on, making sure that we're safe, making sure that making sure that everything's good, making sure that our lives, helping to make sure that our lives can move forward and we have the resources to do so.
Thank you, and we're happy to be appreciated.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
You are 100,000% coming for me, and I'll say, being grateful on that note. I feel like being active in your own mental and emotional health is one of the best ways to stay positive, to feel good, and to not be as affected by the external circumstances that hit you every day in life. So being grateful I find is one of the best ways to stay active in your own mental and emotional health. So those of you out there watching, I invite you to just acknowledge the things you're grateful for. Talk about them, write them down. Do what you can to just keep them on your mind and at the forefront of your mind, because the external circumstances of the world can bring you down, and you have to be active in your own mental and emotional health. You have to be active and staying present and trying to be here. So absolutely love all you guys, and I thank you guys so much for joining us today. And I thank my guests, Mr. Paulo Beltran and Mr. Ari Pei, for joining me today. You guys are quite amazing, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the listening room. And remember, you guys, good things happen when you take the time to listen. Thank you all. Love you all. Thanks for being a part of the listening room tonight. My name is Eddie Booz. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notifications, and give the video a like. We'll see you guys every Monday through Friday right here at 6:30. Take care.